Thanks for joining us for this special production of Creationist Studios entitled Evolution, Genetic, Epigenetic, and Cultural. To inaugurate this program, we'll begin by listening into a panel conversation of three of the field's most eminent minds.
That's a great point, Professor Evans. It strikes me that while genetic inheritance has been recognized for a while as important for inducing muscle fitness in individuals and in species, it's only really now that epigenetic inheritance has been recognized as important and is coming to the floor of the discussion.
I agree, and Jablonka and Lamb also provide a strong model for inheritance in terms of self-sustaining loops, structural inheritance, RNA interference, of course. And while their model is early and lacking in validation, it's nevertheless promising.
Indeed, I agree, and I also believe that while the basics of natural selection, the idea that different selective pressures over time will act upon varied traits within a population will lead to more fit individuals versus less fit individuals, and that those pressures over time will cause a change in the allele frequencies are majorly understood within the community at large. One of the main things that I actually enjoyed about Jablonka and Lamb's book was that the problematizing of Dawkins' meme idea.
I agree. The notion that changes in culture can be conceptualized by memes seems both infantile and infantilized.
See, that's where I felt they went too far. I didn't see what needed to be changed about the Dawkins meme idea.
How not, Professor Coffey?
No, really, I find it quite elegant as a tool for thinking.
As a tool for thinking, yes, but as a means of representing culture.
Yes.
Once we consider culture an interaction of discrete elements, we cease talking about culture, and we begin talking about a cheap imposter dressed as Macbeth once lamented in borrowed robes.
Well said, Professor Scolsoni. I would like to introduce an example at this time, professors. What would you say about, for instance, espionage? Here, in the prehistoric era dominated by hunter-gatherers, we may conject the first example of espionage arose. Espionage, for these purposes, is the loose definition of one player, which can be a tribe, a state, an individual, an extra-state organization, or some subset thereof, making a move, which generally falls into the attempt to acquire information or committing some act against another player without their consent or knowledge. Consider these two tribespeople wandering around this barren desert, attempting to survive and procreate. One of them has just developed a new technology for hunting.
Horizontal transmission is indeed the crux of the issue. While they can teach it to their tribe, one who is not of their tribe can also take it from them. This ability is crucial for the mechanism by which espionage is selected for our topic this evening. Observe.
Thus the selection for the mechanism of enacting espionage began, like all great stories, with a strong woman and a weaker man. Then, as during the time of the Roman Empire, the basic unit stayed the same. An individual player infiltrated another player to make the move. Hunter-gatherers stole technologies and information about resources. Now we flash forward to antiquity. Rome, the sovereign power of South-Central Europe, faces one of her greatest, most daunting foes, Hannibal Barca.
Though Rome has immensely powerful armies, and she has used spies in the past to aid in her conquests, Barca is a strategic mind who has outthought even her.
Senators, I bring tidings of woe. Hannibal is on his way and he has crossed the Alps, and I know that some of his elephants have died along the way, but he's still very much on his way. Now, his unit of espionage is very similar to ours because the same selective pressures still apply, but perhaps it outcompeted ours and he has a selective advantage now.
Scipio, how did this happen?
It's obvious, Cato. You always were a dweeb.
By learning that our forces were concentrated in the southern area, he's made a competitive and fitness-enhancing move for which we have no obvious counter. What do we do now?
Don't worry, I have a plan. Involving a wooden horse. The end of the 1940s inaugurated the coldest of wars and perpetuated the continual selection for slightly better espionage systems. The Soviet Union, just like hunter-gatherer tribes of prehistory and the Rome of antiquity, still uses individuals to infiltrate other players' domains and make moves. These may include stealing secrets involved in the production of the atomic bomb or blackmailing foreign leaders to adopt favorable policies.
While the Soviet Union acquired secrets, memes, if we'd like to simplify, the US used the same mechanism of espionage to interfere with elections. A political science literature review demonstrated that the superpowers of the Cold War interfered with over 100 competitive elections over the course of the 20th century, with the US accounting for the lion's share.
Especially noteworthy are the Italian elections of 1948, where the United States invested millions of dollars and thousands of agent hours to defeat a democratic socialist candidacy.
Thus, while the moves had changed in part, from stealing spears to stealing world-ending weaponry, from gauging military forces to overseeing coups, and the players had changed in part from individual hunter-gatherers to individuals acting on behalf of superpower state apparatuses, there had been little change of great substance in espionage from the dawn of history to the dawn of the nuclear age. That was soon to change.
You fool! If you don't succeed in this espionage effort, the players being me, Vladimir Putin, and the US electoral system, and this move being the election interference to support one candidate, then the US has a greater than 73% chance of electing Hillary Clinton.
Tsar Putin, I am working as fast as I can. You know that the tremendous changes brought in by new technologies, the internet, Moore's law in action, nascent artificial intelligence, has wrought tremendous changes upon the selective pressures of the espionage environment, and now we can do things that we could never do in the past. An agent from a totally different location, different language, different culture, can make moves on another agent without ever interacting with them in person. It's a totally new environment for espionage.
Good point, Gorbachev. We can see that the standard theoretical model of espionage has changed significantly over the years, from the agents in other cultures acting to technologies interacting with these cultures. But these moves are likely to change and replace older agents, for example, assassins.
Tsar Putin, I have it. I have the US greatest threat. It is a, Doug Geffen.
Excellent. Do you have the mechanism for execution?
Let me find the nearest artificial intelligence bot in the area. It is a, Ziva Trachtenberg.
He's one of our best bots, but this is too good to pass up. Initiate the execution sequence.
Yes, sir.
That's a great example, Professor Evans. Via espionage, you can quite easily see how individuals, or survival machines, as it were, compete with other individuals to acquire different means, even using other means in the process, like espionage to acquire nuclear weapons.
But you can also see the limitations of this view. Memes aren't discrete. They can't capture our subjective or scientific understanding of the world. So I'm a little bit confused. Is espionage one giant meme under which sub-memes fit, like assassination or election meddling? I don't know.
The simple reality is that we don't have the same understanding of words, even when we could and would define them in the same way. They're all mediated by our consciousness, by our subjective lived experiences, and to pretend otherwise seems foolish to me. In a sense, there is no meme. For example, an atom bomb to a KGB agent is not an atom bomb to a CIA agent.
I take your points. I've been outwitted, foiled once again. Let me see if I can present your analysis. While culture certainly possesses evolutionary characteristics, its heritable response to selective pressures, it doesn't clearly and coherently map onto any one theory of evolution, whether it's Darwin's, Dawkins, or Jablonka's. Or put differently, while it possesses evolutionary characteristics, and is to some sense, we can think of it in some sense as an evolutionary process. It is not just an evolutionary process. At some higher emergent level, it's more than that. Is that right?
No.
Not at all.
He's really on off the deep end.
But
Do we have
I
time
thought
for this?